Faulkner Chills Fox News. 10 years of breaking barriers and shocking ratings. The bright studio lights blazed overhead. As Faulkner settled into her familiar spot on the iconic white, curved sofa that had become synonymous with Fox News' hit show, Outnumbered today was no ordinary broadcast. As the production assistants scurried about making final adjustments, Harris took a rare moment of stillness. 10 years, a full decade of breaking barriers, challenging expectations, and transforming the landscape of cable news television. 30 seconds, everyone called the floor director. Harris straightened her posture and exchanged quick glances with her co-hosts, Emily Campanillo and Kaylee MC Ganani. The chemistry between them was palpable, the key ingredient in the show's enduring success. In 5, 4, 3, the countdown continued silently with hand gestures. "Welcome to Outnumbered," Harris began, her voice carrying the perfect blend of authority and warmth that millions of viewers had come to trust. "I'm Faulkner. Today marks a special milestone for this program, and for me personally. As the cameras rolled in, the discussion began flowing with its characteristic energy. Part of Harris's mind drifted to the long, often challenging journey that had led her to this moment of triumph. Harris Kimberly Faulkner was born to a life defined by adaptability. As the daughter of Bobby Harris, a United States Army aviator and officer, she grew up moving from base to base, adapting to new environments with the resilience that would later define her professional life. This military upbringing instilled in young Harris a sense of discipline and purpose, along with a profound appreciation for service and sacrifice. Growing up Black in predominantly white spaces taught Harris early lessons about identity and perception. Rather than allowing these challenges to limit her, she transformed them into catalysts for growth and determination. "My father always told me that excellence doesn't ask permission," Harris would later recall in a rare personal interview. He'd say, "Be so good at what you do that they can't ignore, you can't deny, you can't help but make room for you at the table." Education became her foundation. At the University of California, Santa Barbara, Harris majored in mass communications, discovering her passion for journalism and honing the skills that would eventually carry her into millions of American homes. She graduated with honors, but her real education was about to begin. In the crucible of local news markets, the journey to national prominence was neither swift nor easy for Faulkner. Like most journalists, she built her career rung by rung, starting in smaller markets and steadily working her way up. Her early career took her through stations in Los Angeles, Minneapolis, and other cities, each stop allowing her to refine her craft and develop the distinctive voice that would eventually captivate a national audience. It was at KSTP-TV in Minneapolis where Harris truly began to distinguish herself. Her coverage of local news demonstrated not just technical proficiency, but genuine empathy and a commitment to truth-telling that resonated with viewers. This approach earned her her first Emmy Award, not just a professional accolade, but validation of her journalistic philosophy. "That first Emmy wasn't about having a trophy on my shelf," Harris would later tell students during a guest lecture. "It was confirmation that doing journalism with integrity matters, that giving voice to people, stories matters, that the work itself matters." By the time Fox News recruited her in 2004, Harris had established herself as a formidable talent in regional broadcasting, but the leap to national cable news represented an entirely new level of scrutiny and pressure. The landscape was competitive and unforgiving, particularly for women of color, who were significantly underrepresented in prime positions. "When I joined Fox, I knew I wasn't just representing myself," Harris once confided to a mentee. "Whether I wanted it or not, I was representing possibilities, shown what was possible for people who looked like me, who came from backgrounds like mine." For her first decade in Fox News, Harris served primarily as a correspondent, an anchor for various programs. She built her reputation methodically, earning the trust of viewers and colleagues alike through consistent excellence and unflinching professionalism. But it was the launch of Outnumbered in April 2014 that would transform her from respected journalist to household name. The concept behind Outnumbered was simultaneously simple and revolutionary. For female panelists and one male guest, hence the show's clever title, discussing the news of the day. In an industry that had historically relegated women to supporting roles, Outnumbered placed them front and center, valuing their perspectives and expertise. From the very first broadcast, the chemistry between Harris and her co-hosts captured viewers' attention. The format allowed for spirited debate, without descending into the shouting matches that characterized much of cable news. Executives quickly noticed the steadily climbing ratings, and within months, Outnumbered had established itself as a formidable presence in the 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time slot. What makes this show special isn't just the female-forward format, explained a network executive who had championed the program from its inception. It's the authenticity of the conversations. And Harris brings a level of credibility and grace that anchors the entire production. As the show evolved over the years, so did Harris' role within it. She became not just a participant, but a guiding force, steering discussions with a depth touch that allowed for passionate debate, while maintaining the professionalism that viewers had come to expect. Her ability to navigate contentious topics with both firmness and fairness became her trademark. Harris has this remarkable ability to disagree without being disagreeable, noted a frequent guest on the program. She can challenge your position vigorously without making it personal. That's increasingly rare in today's media environment. This approach resonated with viewers across the political spectrum. Under Harris' influence, Outnumbered cultivated an atmosphere where different perspectives could coexist, not in artificial harmony, but in productive tension. The result was compelling television that consistently dominated its time slot, averaging approximately 1.7 million viewers daily, in outpacing competitors on MSNBC and CNN combined. Behind the polished on-air persona, Harris's personal life was rich with its own complexities. Enjoys her marriage to Tony Berlin, a former reporter turned public relations executive, created a loving family that embodied the diversity Harris championed on-air together. They were raising two daughters, Danica and Bella, in a household that celebrated both Christian and Jewish traditions, a personal microcosm of the inclusive society Harris hoped to help build. My children are biracial, they're bicultural, and they're growing up understanding that diversity isn't just something we talk about on TV, it's something we live. Harris explained during a rare personal interview. They represent what's possible when we embrace our differences rather than letting them divide us. But raising biracial daughters in America came with its own set of challenges and necessary conversations. Following the death of George Floyd in 2020 and the subsequent national reckoning on race, Harris found herself navigating her roles as journalist, mother, and black woman with particular care and intent. During this period, Harris made the conscious decision to speak more openly about her personal experiences with racism. On air, she shared stories of being racially profiled, of teaching her daughters to navigate a world that might sometimes judge them by their appearance rather than their character, of the complicated calculations that informed her own interactions with law enforcement. For those who are legitimately hurting, I live in this scam, so I know how it feels, she said during a segment that resonated with viewers across political divides. Her willingness to be vulnerable, to bring her lived experience into her analysis without compromising her journalistic integrity, added new dimensions to her public persona. After that segment aired, the response was overwhelming. Harris later recalled, people from all walks of life reached out, not to agree or disagree politically, but to thank me for helping them see perspectives they never considered before. That's when I realized that honest conversation, rooted in personal truth but extending beyond it, has the power to bridge divides in ways that abstract debate never could. Despite her professional achievements, Harris has always maintained that her most important role is that of mother to Danica and Bella. In a media landscape that often forces women to downplay their family responsibilities for fear of seeming less committed to their careers, Harris has been refreshingly forthright about the centrality of motherhood in her life. If someone were to say I was a great mom, that would be the highest compliment I could receive, she has stated on numerous occasions. More than the Emmys, more than the ratings. Being a good mother is my most sacred calling. For Harris, great motherhood transcends the day-to-day logistics of parenting. It encompasses teaching her daughters to navigate a complex world with confidence and compassion, to understand their unique heritage as a source of strength, and to see beyond the artificial divisions that so often fracture communities. I want my girls to know that love is never a weakness, Harris explained during a Mother's Day special. In a world that sometimes seems defined by cynicism and division, choosing love. Radical, unapologetic love is the most powerful statement you can make. This philosophy extends to her approach to difficult conversations with her daughters. Rather than shielding them from challenging realities, Harris engages them in age-appropriate discussions about privilege, prejudice, and personal responsibility. She encourages questions, acknowledges uncertainty, and models the kind of thoughtful engagement she hopes they will embrace as they grow into adulthood. Children are more perceptive than we give them credit for, Harris observed. They see the contradictions in our society. Our job as parents isn't to provide simple answers to complex questions, but to give them the tools to think critically and compassionately about the world they're inheriting. By 2020, Harris had firmly established herself as one of Fox News' most valuable assets, recognizing her appeal and journalistic credibility. Network executives offered her a new opportunity: her own show, The Faulkner Focus, which would air weekday mornings before Outnumbered. The timing was significant. In accepting this role, Harris became the only black woman to host consecutive hours of programming on a major cable news network, a milestone that spoke volumes about both her individual achievement in the slowly changing face of television news. The Faulkner Focus provided Harris with a platform to explore stories and issues in greater depth, free from the panel format of Outnumbered. It was a vote of confidence from network leadership and a recognition of her ability to connect with viewers in a more direct, intimate way. Having my own show is a tremendous responsibility, Harris acknowledged during the program's debut. My commitment to you, the viewer, is unwavering. I will bring you the news without fear or favor, with context and perspective to help you make sense of our complex world. True to her word, the Faulkner Focus quickly established itself as a thoughtful alternative to the often frenetic pace of morning news programs. Harris' interview style, respectful yet probing, firm but fair, earned praise from guests across the political spectrum. She asks the questions that need asking, remarked a Democratic strategist who had appeared on the program. You may not always like her questions, but you have to respect her preparation and her commitment to getting at the truth. A Republican congressman expressed similar sentiments. What I appreciate about Harris is that she listens, really listens to the answers. She's not just waiting for her chance to speak or to gotcha you. That's increasingly rare in this business. The success of the Faulkner Focus further solidified Harris' status as a pioneer in cable news. Managing two distinct programs required not just journalistic skill, but extraordinary stamina and adaptability. Each morning she would anchor her solo show, then seamlessly transition to the panel format of Outnumbered, a demanding schedule that showcased her versatility and commitment. I don't know how she does it, admitted a colleague. Most of us are drained after 1 hour on air. Harris does 2 back-to-back hours, 5 days a week, and never seems to lose a step. Her energy and focus are remarkable. As one of the most prominent black women in cable news, Harris carries the additional burden of representation. The knowledge that her successes and failures will inevitably be viewed through the prism of race and gender. It's a responsibility she has come to embrace, albeit with a clear-eyed understanding of its limitations. I can't and don't claim to speak for all black women, Harris has emphasized repeatedly. My experiences are my own, filtered through my particular circumstances and perspectives. What I can do is bring authenticity to my work and create space for diverse voices and viewpoints. This commitment to authenticity has served Harris well throughout her career, rather than attempting to downplay her identity or conform to others' expectations. She has integrated her full self into her professional persona, drawing on her experiences as a military child, a woman of color, a wife, a mother, and a person of faith, to inform her approach to journalism. The greatest disservice we can do to ourselves and our audience is to present a sanitized, one-dimensional version of who we are, Harris reflected during the journalism conference. People connect with humanity, with vulnerability, with truth when we bring our whole selves to our work. We create the conditions for genuine connection. This philosophy has occasionally placed Harris in a delicate position, particularly when covering stories related to race and social justice. Critics from various perspectives have questioned her objectivity, suggesting that her identity inevitably colors her reporting. Harris' response to such criticisms has been characteristically thoughtful. Every journalist brings their lived experience to their work. She noted during a panel discussion on media bias, "The myth of perfect objectivity is just that. A myth. What matters is a commitment to fairness, to intellectual honesty, and to acknowledging our own blind spots." As the 10th anniversary of Outnumbered approached in spring 2024, the significance of the milestone was not lost on Harris or her colleagues. In an industry known for its volatility, where shows are regularly canceled and talent frequently rotated, a decade of success represented an extraordinary achievement. When we launched Outnumbered, we knew we had something special, but no one could have predicted the impact it would have reflected. One of the show's original producers, Harris has been the constant, the North Star that has guided the program through various host changes and evolving news cycles. The statistics told a compelling story. Outnumbered consistently dominated its time, averaging approximately 1.7 million viewers daily, more than its competitors on MSNBC and CNN combined. Behind these impressive numbers were countless moments of insightful analysis, challenging conversations, and the kind of genuine human connection that transcends political divisions. For Harris, the anniversary prompted reflection on both professional accomplishments and personal growth. 10 years ago, I couldn't have imagined where this journey would lead, she admitted during a quiet moment before a broadcast. The challenges have been real, but so have the rewards, and the most meaningful reward has been the trust of our viewers, the people who invite us into their homes day after day. That trust was evident in the volume of correspondence. Harris received letters, emails, and social media messages from viewers who felt a personal connection to her. Some praised her journalistic integrity. Others expressed gratitude for her willingness to address difficult topics with nuance and respect. Many simply thanked her for being a visible example of excellence, particularly for young women of color, who rarely saw themselves represented in positions of media influence. A young woman approached me after a speaking engagement, Harris recalled with evident emotion. She said, "Seeing you on television every day reminded me that my dreams aren't crazy." That's when you realize that your work matters in ways you might never fully understand. No career as visible as Harris Faulkner's comes without criticism, and hers has been no exception. Over the years, she has faced scrutiny from multiple directions, sometimes for being too conservative, other times for not being conservative enough, occasionally for emphasizing her racial identity, at other times for supposedly downplaying it. The nature of these criticisms often revealed more about the critics than about Harris herself. In a media landscape increasingly defined by ideological silos, her commitment to nuance and intellectual honesty sometimes confused those who expected absolute alignment with a particular perspective. "I've never been interested in being anyone's ideological rubber stamp," Harris noted during an interview about media polarization. "My job isn't to tell viewers what they already believe. It's to help them think through complex issues, to present different perspectives fairly, and to ask the questions that need asking, even when those questions might challenge their assumptions or my own." This approach hasn't always been popular. In an era of heightened partisanship, there have been moments when Harris found herself in the crosshairs of critics from across the political spectrum, accused simultaneously of being too critical and not critical enough, too political and not political enough, too outspoken about racial issues and too silent. The key to weathering these storms, Harris discovered, was staying grounded in her core principles: integrity, empathy, excellence, and a deep commitment to truth-telling. These weren't just professional values, but personal ones instilled during her military childhood and reinforced throughout her life. "My father taught me that character is defined by how you act when no one's watching," Harris often recalled. In this business, someone's always watching. But the principle remains the same. You have to know who you are and what you stand for. Because if you don't, the currents of public opinion will carry you away. This inner compass has guided Harris through controversies and criticisms, allowing her to maintain her equilibrium amid the often turbulent waters of cable news. It has also enabled her to navigate the complex intersections of race, gender, and media with a grace that has earned respect, even from those who disagree with her politically. "What impresses me about Harris isn't that she never makes mistakes," observed a media critic who has followed her career closely. "It's that when she does, she owns them, learns from them, and moves forward with greater wisdom." That's a rare quality in an industry where defensiveness is the default response to criticism. As Harris approached her 20th anniversary with Fox News, in 2024, there was no sign of slowing down. If anything, her influence within the network, in the broader media landscape, continued to grow. The success of Outnumbered and the Faulkner focus had cemented her status as one of the most recognizable and respected figures in cable news. Yet for all her professional achievements, Harris remained grounded in the values that had guided from the beginning: integrity, empathy, excellence, and a deep commitment to truth-telling. These principles would continue to inform her approach as she navigated the ever-changing landscape of news media. The technology evolves, the delivery systems change, but the fundamentals of good journalism remain constant. Harris observed, "Listen more than you speak. Question your assumptions. Seek understanding before judgment. And always remember that behind every story are real human beings whose lives are affected by how we report." As for her legacy, Harris preferred to focus on the work at hand, rather than how she might be remembered. "I hope that in some small way, I've helped to expand our collective understanding of who belongs in which spaces." She reflected that a little girl watching at home might see me and think, "I could do that too," not because I'm exceptional, but because I've shown that the path exists. The impact of this representation cannot be overstated. In a media landscape still struggling with diversity at its highest levels, Harris Faulkner's presence has been transformative, not just symbolically but substantively. Her success has challenged outdated assumptions about who can connect with mainstream American audiences, opening doors for a more inclusive generation of journalists. To follow Harris didn't just break barriers, noted a former network executive who had worked closely with her. She shattered them, then used the pieces to build bridges. That's her real legacy. Not just that she made it to the top, but how she's used her position to create opportunities for others and to foster understanding across divides. On the day of the 10th anniversary broadcast of Outnumbered, the Fox News studio in Midtown Manhattan buzzed with a special energy. Producers had planned a series of segments, looking back at the show's most memorable moments, featuring surprise video messages from former co-hosts and notable guests. As Harris prepared in the makeup chair, she reflected on the journey from military child to regional reporter to national cable news anchor to one of the most influential voices in American media. It had been a path marked by both trials and triumphs, by moments of doubt and periods of extraordinary clarity. Ready in 5, everyone called the floor. Director. Harris took her place on the familiar white sofa, exchanging warm glances with her co-hosts. The camaraderie was genuine, one of the intangible factors that had contributed to the show's enduring success. "Welcome to a very special edition of Outnumbered," Harris began as the cameras rolled. "I'm Harris Faulkner, and today, we're celebrating a milestone that frankly seemed improbable a decade ago. The 10th anniversary of this program. When we launched in April 2014, we were told that a show featuring primarily women's voices, discussing serious news, wouldn't find an audience. You, our viewers, proved those skeptics wrong. The hour passed quickly, filled with thoughtful discussion, interspersed with retrospective segments. Throughout it all, Harris demonstrated the qualities that had endeared her to millions of viewers: intellectual curiosity, emotional intelligence, and an unwavering commitment to treating all perspectives with respect. As the broadcast neared its conclusion, Harris addressed the camera directly, her expression reflective. 10 years ago we began this journey together," she said, her voice warm with genuine emotion. "You welcomed us into your homes, engaged with us, challenged us, and trusted us with your time and attention. For that, we are profoundly grateful. Here's to many more conversations in the years to come." The red light on the camera blinked off, signaling the end of the broadcast. But for Harris Faulkner, it represented not an ending, but a milestone in an ongoing journey, one that had already transformed cable news and was poised to continue breaking barriers for years to come. As she gathered her notes and prepared to transition to her next meeting, a text message appeared on her phone. It was from her daughter, "Bella, so proud of you, Mom. You showed them all what's possible." Harris smiled, tucking the phone away. In an industry defined by ratings and viewership metrics, she had never lost sight of the most important measure of success: inspiring the next generation to dream bigger, reach higher, and refuse to be limited by others' expectations. "The story continues," she would often say, at the end of particularly significant broadcasts. And indeed, for Harris Faulkner journalist, Mother Barrier Breaker, the most meaningful chapters were still being written, one broadcast at a time.